Namaste. Namaste, my friend. How are you doing? I'm so thrilled reading your message. I have to do nothing with anyone, but first let me look at myself. I was trying all the possible ways to make you aware so that your mind undergoes a change and you come out with the wisdom. What is that wisdom? Today we are going to talk about the second verse, second principle from the text, which talks about contentment. Contentment has an element of peace, happiness, joy, levels that is independent of anything outside. You meet your you meet your son, father, daughter, anyone. There is a contentment inside. We have been talking about the delusion and the foolishness and why our mind continues to remain in that state of anxiety and reaction. That is very important to understand. Even the Buddha begins its journey. Many American authors and philosophers, including the counselors, when they read the first of the Four Noble Truths of Buddha, the first is the entire world, the universe is suffering. But they did not study further. They just pick up a phrase, the world is suffering, and then they blame Buddha that Buddha is very pessimistic. He has a pessimistic approach because he says the world is suffering. You have already undergone the first verse where we understand why this world is suffering because of the delusion. Delusion causes the foolishness in the mind, and the five types of the foolishness heavily depends on the world outside. Then I have to suffer. But they never go to the second noble truth. There is a cause of the suffering, and the cause of the suffering we have discussed in detail. Today we are going to talk about the contentment in the second verse, which is very important. And the journey takes about 360-degree turn. What is that 360? You feel and experience the contentment is inside. Oh, the contentment is inside. Is the state of contentment not only comes from outside, from people, relationship, partner, and eating pasta or chicken, whatever it is. That is what we are trying to understand. But now the journey will move smoothly and will help you rise in awareness. Condition that you remember all the last, 5 or 6 sessions, you remember by heart. You invoke those principles in your mind and you are done. Understand there is a need-based desire. We don't have a luxury to leave the world, but we have a luxury to live in the world but not to be impacted by the world outside. What is that word? People, relationship, seeking pleasure, etc., etc. So, need based desire versus pleasure based desire. Say, you meet a person who is very close to you who has been living in stress, escaping his or her responsibility, getting into the stress and duality and a conflict, but try to control. And that guy comes to you and guides you. Calm down. Mind does not believe it, but still you get agitated. Why you should get agitated? When you know this guy is not living in peace and happiness, that opens up the door to the understanding of the need-based desire and pleasure-based desire. What is pleasure-based desire? I have a desire. I have a lot of expectations from the world outside to be in peace and happiness, and I have told you millions of times that the peace and happiness are not the properties of anything, any person in the world. They are in you. They are in you. They are within you. So, the pleasure based desire, if you have even a little bit of pleasure based desire, you will enter into anxiety, duality, conflict, reaction, stress, expectations. And when you have a need based desire, the mind lives in the state of contentment. That is what we are going to talk about. But understand why we study Eastern wisdom. We study Eastern wisdom to study yourself, to study myself. I study the Eastern wisdom to study myself, what it means. I study my behavior, my attitude, my personality, my reaction, my hesitation, my delusion, my problems and pains. One hand. On the second hand, to explore the real self of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. You went to a party, nobody appreciates, nobody pays the attention. Who is disturbed? The public outside or you? You are disturbed, but why you are disturbed? That is what we are studying. I question why we are disturbed. Let no one appreciate. Let me appreciate. I'm calm, relaxed, cool. Where is the problem? Why Eastern wisdom? To study myself. But why I get agitated? Master says we are not what we think we are. And that is the ignorance. Ignorance results into delusion. Delusion results into foolishness. And we have 5 types of foolishness, and we fall prey to our anxiety, duality, and conflict. Simple answer, the master says, because of incomplete knowledge. I don't have a complete knowledge about myself. So I get into ignorance and the journey starts. What should I do? I should settle in who am I? And that is why I have been saying you the journey of the Eastern wisdom is a self discovery. One more thing here, that real self hides behind that real self hides behind the false I. So, how to understand false I? Whatever is changing. Every day we wake up in the morning, it's a bad morning. Why? How come it's a bad morning? did not supply the sun rays to your house or to your room, or the sun supplied a little less sun? No, it is my mind. I told you, study Eastern wisdom to study myself. So the first thing that we understand that whatever is changing is not me. And whatever is eternal, all pervading within me, we are moving to the step towards contentment. But I have to repeat this. What should I do? So understand that foundation, don't forget this foundation. The entire teaching now from this text will 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 continue with the three foundations. Where is the first foundation? Understanding, knowing, reminding daily, recalling. What to recall what is my true nature. The second step, I have to work on the mind before my listening and reflection succeeds. Why? Otherwise, the mind will work on us. I'm agitated, mind is working on you. You are reacting, mind is working on me. Why didn't you appreciate? Mind is working on you. Now, I am working on the mind. Oh, so I have an anxiety. So I apply the liberate principle. Let me investigate. Why I'm upset with this guy, this girl, this man, this woman? Because he or she did not meet my expectations. I'm just understanding. I want to work on the mind. Instantly, you work on the mind. Then what happens? How we do it. And the third step, when the mind, I recognize that the mind is calm in self awareness, then I apply the liberate principle. You cannot apply the liberate principle when you are already into anxiety. The mind is working on you. How can you apply that? Because your mind is already surrounded by the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Are you getting it? So, in the foundation, the first thing, that is why I say that keep listening and learning. Forget about other podcasts until you settle into the state of contentment. Can you ever say that I'm in the state of contentment and somebody disturbed me? I got agitated because even though I have a sense of contentment, now we are moving in a positive direction. But we have to understand what causes those reaction, anxiety, anger, conditioning because of the conditioning. So now understand the foundation. The first step, I study the Eastern wisdom to study myself. So it means that I move from the false I to the real I. The false I causes ignorance, delusion, suffering, problems, pain, and the foolishness. The real self is already the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. What is the message here? Anytime, in any situation, when I have some psychological baggage, I should recognize that false I has taken over. How the false I has taken over, that is our second foundation step that I have to work on the mind. But how I have to work on the mind? The moment you experience those symptoms, you start the Shanti mantra. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. May there be peace for all. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. May there be completeness for all. Sarvesham, Sarvesham, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. You already know it. You need not to wait the moment in any situation, any condition. Why? Working on the mind. Don't allow the mind to work on me. You had a episode of anxiety or reaction and your mind returns to that. That is why I have taken 6 or 7 sessions to help you recognize and realize the foundation steps. And it is always good to repeat in the morning. You wake up in the morning, mind says it's a bad morning, and you say, Sarvesham Swastir. May there be happiness. Or why there should be happiness? Because the happiness is my nature. Hence, the happiness is the nature of every human being on this earth. Oh no, but this guy is agitated. Yes, he's searching happiness through hesitation. I'm searching happiness through my Eastern wisdom. Simple statement will change your mind. So once you have the 2 steps and the third step is liberate principle. But why I say that you are listening and learning, foundation is that real self and the false I. You have a clarity. Second step, you do the Shanti mantra. Why? Because you start working on the mind. What happens when you work on the mind? Your mind is calm. It rises in awareness, and you are ready to go for the journey. And what is the third step? Liberate principle. Once your mind is calm, then only you can apply the liberate principle. If your mind is not calm, or I can say if you are not working on the mind, this mind will make you crazy, lazy, obsessed, reactive. Did you get it? So we will follow with these 3 foundational steps in every verse. Why? So that we can discover that real self of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. You are. You got a glimpse of it. It's a matter of opening up. So in these 5 or 6 more verses, you will see that you're opening up to not only to the peace, joy, love, and that gives you a sense of contentment within yourself. Do you know the liberate principle? I told you. The second foundational step is working on the mind. If I work on the mind, I keep aside all my anxiety, duality, reaction, blame, complaint. Let me keep it aside. The moment you keep it aside, your mind is aware and alert, and in that awareness, you start the liberate principle, satasangatve nisasangatvam. Actually, this verse converts into very beautiful poetry. Satasangatve nisasangatvam. Listening, learning, contemplation, reflection leads to detachment. Detachment, pleasure-based desire. Not with the need-based desire. Got it? Nisasangatve nirmohatvam. So when my mind is in the state of detachment, it results into freedom from the delusion, foolishness, 5 types, removes. Nirmohatve nishchal tattvam. When there is a freedom from the delusion and the foolishness, the mind is naturally calm and relaxed and steady. That natural steadiness of the mind, if we continue the journey, it results into awakening. Nishchal tattve jivan mukti. So you see, there are only 4 or 5 things in the verse, but I converted into liberate principle for you to understand it easily. Liberate. How liberate? Live in the truth. Anxiety, I'm living in false. Reaction, I'm living in false. The mind is not ready. Go for the Shanti mantra. Check that now you have started working on the mind, and then love, L letter. Live in my real self. Let me understand it. I have a lot of time to be anxious, to be hesitated, to react, but let me understand. Live in the real self. I investigate. So I is the investigate. Investigate what? Investigate the false self. I told you that is why Buddha says that investigation begins when I start the word is suffering. How come the word is suffering? Pleasure based desire. Investigate. Then, when you investigate, you find a sense of attachment. B, letter B, break free from attachment. Oh, break free from attachment. So, once you have broken yourself from the attachment, my mind is burning inside. Why didn't you appreciate me? Is this guy sticking to me like a glue? No. But why my mind feels like this? Because my mind expected an appreciation and praise from you. My mind is thinking, and that guy is enjoying his life. Do you see the delusion? Attachment. So what happens? You break free from the attachment by investigation, and then you eradicate the delusion. Delusion. Why? What if he doesn't appreciate it? Means that I'm not relaxed and calm. Then what happens? You relax and calmness returns. You realize letter R. You realize the inner calm. And then A, what happens? You have the first glimpse of your real self within you. That on the surface, that delusion is gone, that detachment is gone, that foolishness is gone. My mind says that the real self is within me. You have the first glimpse. You have the inner calmness. Now you can play with the false I. Get rid of it. I'm not expecting. That is the letter T. You transcend the limitation, and you keep on transcending the limitations by your behavior, attitude, thought, feeling, emotions. E, the last letter, is you embody the freedom. And when you embody the freedom, that sense of contentment comes. After the contentment, we recognize and realize the real self. Don't forget to do the Shanti mantra every day in the morning. Just follow a ritual. We go to the washroom, it's a ritual. We take a cup of coffee. So even while taking a cup of coffee, you are doing the Shanti mantra and checking that mind is working on you or you are working on the mind. My friend. And the moment you recognize early in the morning or before going to sleep, now you can easily recognize mind is working on you or you are working on the mind. Clear? Third foundational step, I made it very clear, the liberate. Then only this liberate principle will work. Or any time, anywhere, in any relationship. Better when you go to the party, you start with the Shanti mantra and then enter into the party. See what happens. So I have covered the three foundational steps will continue in this journey. And based on these three foundational steps, we are going for the verses. The verse number 1, we have already done it. But for the sake of understanding, I'm repeating why, so that your mind will settle completely 100%. From today, you should not have any problem or pain. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Sannahite Kale, Samprapte Sannahite Kale, Nahi Rakshati Dukrunna Karne. I like to sing. So if we divide into the 4 parts this verse, the first part says, recognize, realize the real self of unconditional love. That is my simple translation for you. I recognize, I don't create love, I don't expect love, I don't demand love. So I don't recognize. Now think, I don't recognize, I don't realize. So what happens? The mind has started working on you. And then you cannot apply the liberate principle. So the master says in the second line, but oh, Govindam bhajamurhamate, oh foolish, means deluded mind, means foolish mind, means attached mind, means pleasure-based desire. You give me any example in the world of a need-based desire, if it causes you any problem. We all should have a desire, but we classify need-based desire. You want to go to the restroom? Yes, go there. Is there any problem? Go to the kitchen and grab a cup of coffee. Is there any problem? You are hungry, you eat the food. Do you have a problem? You are driving. Do you have any problem? Need-based desire. I'm feeling sleepy. Let me lie down and sleep. Pleasure-based desire will always have a problem. What are those problems? Anxiety, reaction, duality, conflict, problem, pain, suffering. But why it happens? Because of the delusion and the foolishness. So in the first verse, we learned that if we continue to live our life in foolishness and delusion and attachment, the pleasure-based mind will continue to work in our mind. It means that now the mind has started working on me. It will continue to exert the pressure. When you are going to sleep, oh, that guy. When you wake up in the morning, this girl. Are you understanding? Now the time has come to implement and apply these principles into your daily living, because you have already understood. You have already sent a message to me. Oh. Then Master gives a very interesting picture. He says that when the appointed time of the death comes, just take it with contemplation and reflection. It means that I will continue to have the same problem, anxiety, expectation, duality, conflict until the death. What kind of a life I'm living? But what I'm doing? I'm not changing my behavior attitude. How to change your behavior and attitude? Drop the pleasure based desire. What is the pleasure based desire? What it happens if I have a pleasure based desire? It causes the attachment. Then what? Attachment causes the delusion. Delusion causes the foolishness. What is the foolishness? Then I think, speak, and act out of. Do you remember the four? Vanity, wicked conversation, blame and complaint, lack of respect. Now the mind has become the master. Gave you the foundational steps. When you start working on the mind, you can easily apply the liberate principle. Nahi, nahi. So the master says in the fourth line that how long you are going to live into that state. Can't you say enough is enough? Anxiety, throw it out. Reaction, get rid of it. How? First three foundational steps in this verse. This verse gives a scenario that why I am into anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Mind is working on me, and it escapes the liberate principle. I forget that I'm of the nature of the real self. Everything is done. So, in the last two lines of the first verse, the master is explaining how this foolishness takes over all of us. Vanity, wicked conversation, hesitation, stubborn argument, lack of respect. Can you tell me these are the five types. Can you tell me the sixth one? Everything is covered here. Delusion, foolishness, and ignorance. Delusion, impulsive, habitual, reactive behavior. I know I'm doing it and still I do it. I'm attacked by the attachment delusion. Do you see that? So now studying Eastern wisdom so the first verse we have understood. You can compare it with the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha. The first noble truth, the entire world is suffering. There is a cause of the suffering. So what is that word is suffering? Pleasure-based desire. If I have a pleasure based desire, the mind gets obsessed and it keeps thinking about a particular thing or a person or a relationship. I'm in dark. Are you getting it? Say yes with a smile on your face. Good. Do you remember the three foundational steps? It is journey of the self-discovery because I have an incomplete knowledge about my real self and the false I, and gradually by understanding I have to remove the false I have to move towards the real I. Here, second step that I have to check my mind. I have to work on my mind by the Shanti mantra. Check yourself whether mind is working on you or you are working on your mind. Why? Because it will, if you are working on the mind, it will raise your level of awareness. Your self awareness goes up. In that moment, in that state, you can apply the liberate principle I have already discussed. Now, coming to the second verse is so interesting. extremely interesting. So the master starts addressing all of us. Don't think, sometime, rare occasions. I also enter into the foolishness, but the next second, fraction of a millisecond, nobody notices. I come out of it. But why it happens in a fraction of a second? Mind is impulsive, but impulsive nature also helps us. Impulsive nature helps us. Yes, you have an urge to go to the washroom. You don't plan to be hungry. The hunger comes. Blinking of eyelids, the dust particle is coming. Impulsive, that is required. But that is required at the right place, at the right time, in a right way. Impulsive nature, not in reaction, hesitation, anger, and the foolishness. So the master starts addressing Murjahihi Dhana Gama Trishna. So he is addressing the mind of everyone with a joke. Why with a joke? Because we all are seekers. We will take it in a right way. So the master is saying, remember, second verse, oh foolishness, oh foolish guy, why you have a pleasure-based desire? Don't you question the pleasure-based desire? Why the pleasure-based desire means what? My mind has already projected the pleasure, the peace, and the love, and the happiness, and the joy. I have given it to others. I have given it to others? Yes. Because my mind in a delusion has given that peace and happiness to the others by thought of attachment that if you appreciate me, I'll be happy. Suppose you had a one good dinner. Except the food in the dish that you don't you like it very much, without which you feel that your stomach is not filled or not full. There are 10 dishes, wonderful, you have eaten it, except the one that you like. And your mind is searching that dish, it doesn't come. And your stomach is full, but your mind says, I have still. The mental hunger. Pleasure based desire is a mental hunger. All people are hungry after the drugs, after a lot of things, after smartphone. And you already understand. We both are mature enough to understand. Master is saying in the first line, what he is saying? Oh, foolish one, why you are going for a pleasure-based desire? Are you really wise? Pleasure-based desires. Mind is running after. Now I got this phrase, so I'm writing also for reference so that I remember what I taught you. So you challenge that. You challenge your pleasure based. Come on, my stomach is full. I already have 10 dishes, And you tell the mind, what do you mean? Eat to live or live to eat? My physical survival depends on the food. I have already put the 10 different dishes into my. Calm down, mind. You're working on the mind. This is what the master is saying. But in the second line, the master is saying that Kuru Sadabuddhim Manasi Vitrishnam. It is, both are related to each. Can't you think? Can't you think and reflect? Can't you think and reflect on pleasure-based desire and awaken to the reality? Awaken to the reality. I already had the 10 dishes. Her stomach is full. I can't eat more. But the mind says, no, I didn't get that dish. Why I say, oh, you did not have it. My mind is saying, you didn't appreciate me. Oh, you didn't praise me, I was expecting at least you should make me happy. Mental and emotional hunger. Mental and emotional obsession. In those moments, the master says, can't you think, reflect on the pleasure-based desire so that you awaken to the reality? When you awaken to the reality, you cultivate wisdom. Oh, you cultivate wisdom? Yes. Because now you are detached. You cultivate the wisdom. What happens when you cultivate the wisdom? You have a sense of contentment. A sense of contentment. From where the contentment has come? One way of having the contentment, what a great coffee. What a great food. What a great car. What a great clothes. But this contentment has come because your mind has left the delusion, foolishness. It comes from within. You have a glimpse of what is this contentment? If I use the word contentment, it is a peace, calm, joy, and emotional poise is there. Emotional poise is there. Emotional poise, all are there. Remember, contentment coming from outside does not have a contentment from outside does not have these four traits of peace and calm and the joy and the emotional poise. Contentment. With this acceptance, so I accept, I recognize and realize. You see that in the fourth line of the verse, Master says, can you recognize and realize that state of contentment in you? Contentment in you. Now you are not seeking any pleasure-based desire. That is the way. In the second verse, Master jumps to the state of contentment. In the first verse, we discussed in detail the very process, mechanism, and cause of our dissatisfaction, anger, anxiety, duality, and a conflict in our life. Here we are talking of Once I drop the pleasure based desire, contains foolishness, delusion, attachment, reaction, anger, anxiety, duality, conflict, etc., etc., etc. Now you apply these foundational principles, you apply the liberate principle when the mind is working, you are working on the mind with a non-verbal awareness. Oh, real self and the false I. How long I have to do it? How many times your mind thinks that you are a woman when you wake up in the morning? No, not even a single time. I know I am. Even you don't say, I know I am, but you are. You have that understanding, you have that knowledge. Same thing applies here. You have to repeat until you have a non-verbal awareness. You wake up in the morning, you know that you are the real self. You need not to think, speak, and act. But the journey goes from dropping the pleasure based desire to the state of contentment I experience. Ask your that state of the contentment from where it has come. From something outside? No. So think about it, mind. Why you were running after something outside? Contentment is inside you. Don't you experience? Yes, I experience it. Pleasure based desire, seeking happiness, security, satisfaction from the world is not possible. Do not exist. It does not exist. Come on. Are you understanding that? Master is pointing that why don't you reflect? Pleasure based desire means I'm seeking pleasure from the world outside, security outside, satisfaction outside. They do not exist outside. I have money, so I'm happy and eating, so I'm able to maintain my livelihood. Yeah, that they are need-based desire for which you don't have a problem. Mind is living in the pleasure-based desire. It is exhausted. It is obsessed. Three foundational principles. No, my real self is nature of full of peace and happiness. Oh, it is the false I. I start working on the mind by the Shanti mantra. I apply the liberate principle. I enter into the state of contentment, peace. There and then, you need not to worry about it. We have also to understand that there's this pleasure based desire. Pleasure based desire comes from past impression, from the past impression. The seed, the root cause of pleasure based desire from the outside starts from the birth. Because when we were born, we were totally unconscious. We didn't know whose parents, in which country, where, what kind of parents, what behavior they had. But one thing, my mom and your mom also met my need impulsively. What do you mean? I mean the same very simple thing. I mean, the moment I am born and you are born, your mom and my mom said, I will breastfeed you, or I will give you the milk. Unconscious mind realize that it is giving me happiness and happiness is coming from outside. No happiness is coming. But I'm not conscious. So how do I know it? So it created the first impression. Then I started crying and mom came and changed the bed. Unconscious impressions. I grew older, maybe 1 or 2 years old. Your parents, my parents purchased the toys and said, here is a plane. Ha ha ha. Happiness. Pleasure based desire. We were educated. It is required. The ignorant mind is a curse, and the ignorant mind is also a helper. So in the childhood, ignorant mind is a helper. Now the same ignorant mind is a curse. Are you understanding? The past memories, the habits, the impulsive nature stops moving the mind to the real self. That is why we have 3 foundational steps. Did you get it? I'm just explaining in different ways so that you listen to it regularly, prepare a note, and remember it for a couple of days, and it becomes a part of your. So as we grew older, our parents, their eating habits, so they offered the same thing out of which my mind said, I like this, I don't like this. My mind also created likes and dislikes. And it keeps on thinking, oh, mom, no, I will take this chocolate, this candy. No, I don't want this. Likes and strong likes and dislikes. My mom and my parents fulfilled my demands. And then my mind keeps on thinking about the likes and dislikes. It causes the attachment, causes the delusion, causes the foolishness. Summary that we are heavily conditioned by the parents, society, culture, religion, people. When the mind works in our life now based on that conditioning, pleasure based desire, we are bound to get upset. I have to bring about a change in my behavior and attitude. If I don't change my behavior and attitude, how? First 3 foundational steps, do you remember? I'm not saying first, second, third. After that, based on these foundational steps, we pick up the first verse. Do you remember anything of the first verse? Enough is enough, I said. Second verse, contentment. That is what we are picking up. Second verse, I see that there is a lot. It is talking now that, you have understood the delusion and the foolishness and the pleasure based desire. When you have understanding means what? I understand that I was expecting happiness from you. Now, that understanding that this is a delusion. My mind says it is a delusion. Then I recognize that the happiness is not outside. So I have that understanding. What happens to your anxiety, your reaction, duality, and a conflict? Tell me. Think. So the contentment, peace, joy, calmness, and maybe an emotional poise. You start feeling some good sensation. I have left the pleasure based desire, contentment. Out of that contentment, we are going to understand in the future verses the gratitude. You are filled with the gratitude, simplicity, peace of mind. You have a freedom from envy, anxiety, and endless striving. You have a harmonious relationship with everyone. Pay attention. Because of the contentment, because of the contentment within me, I will always have a good relationship with you. I can share my love, my care, my wisdom. But whether you have the same, you reciprocate or not, that's a different matter. You don't care. I don't care. Example. This is an example. So when you are full of contentment, you don't care what others are talking and thinking and reacting. You continue to offer that sense of gratitude and the simplicity and the harmonious relationship with everyone. There is no one who is your enemy. Cultivating wisdom. This is what we say, cultivating wisdom. What experiences have shaped my current understanding of life? When I am in the state of contentment, minus the delusion and foolishness, I'm happy in any situation, everywhere, in all the relationships. This is a great message by the second in the second verse, but we are going to when we completely cover this book, you will understand that, oh my goodness, this is so deep. Murjahi dhanagam trishnam. I have translated which will help you to understand clearly. Literal meaning is different. We have to, I want an acquisition of wealth. Why? Pleasure based desire. For recognition, why? Pleasure based desire. Recognition, why? Pleasure based desire. Security based on others. What is this? Pleasure based desire. So it results into a kind of a craving which we do not notice, and our impure mind, the mind that is working on us, it starts dictating us, and then we get problem. We have a problem and problem and problem. Master says no. Once you drop this, you will have a sense of contentment. Contentment is made up of, you can say little calm, but it is coming from within. Peace coming from within. Joy coming from within. Emotional poise coming from within. When they all come from within. When you experience it consciously, do you need, demand, crave, obsess with any kind of happiness from the world outside? And if not, why to worry? Namaste, my friend. Thank you very much for tolerating